All right, Texans versus Cowboys. No need to really go X's and O's here. It's a 17-point spread. I took the 17. I'm anticipating losing money on that, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. But because the Texans are facing the Cowboys, I bring in Jeff Cavanaugh of 97.1 The Freak and the Jeff Cavanaugh Show on YouTube. That feels good to hear, doesn't it?
Yeah, that feels great to hear. Oh, wait, do I have permission? Can you, like, when this is done, send me a copy of it, and then I can put it on my page and monetize it, and then I can win too?
Yeah, you can do that. Absolutely.
Hey, everyone, this is Landry Locker. Welcome to my channel on my page. But this is my friend, Landry Locker, who used to live in DFW and bailed on us for Houston.
You are the kind of king of the YouTube thing, though. I think you were one of the first ones. I just started doing it. I wasn't really encouraged to do it. It was kind of discouraged, but you've been doing this for how long now?
Oh, goodness. I'd have to look back. 3 years, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's close to like 3 or 4. Yeah, I think it's like 3 or 4 years you've been doing it. What do you notice is like the different part of like the YouTube community? Because Cowboys is obviously different. Y'all got like hundreds of people that do it, but it seems like there's like a little bit more passion to it.
Yeah, I think the beauty of the YouTube thing is it's just you do you. And like, there's a lot of Cowboy content creators who are super passionate and super fiery, and then guys that aren't. It's just like, if you either know what you're talking about, or you're fun, or you're maybe just have takes, like whatever. YouTube is whatever people decide to subscribe to. So in my case, it's literally hit go live or record and do whatever I want, and it's worked. So like,
kind of seems like it's worked for you in more ways than one, though. I mean, if we're being honest, doing what you want. So you've been doing your thing. I remember starting off with you. You and I were both kind of like radio grunts at the same time. We would go get drunk at Milo's, and it would be like our one day off. We would appreciate our weekend reps. We'd be working like the night shifts and stuff like that. And then now you're doing the YouTube, you're doing the morning, and I'm up here in Houston. So yeah, it's been a wild journey. It's been fun watching you do everything that you've done, man.
Well, it's fun watching your people win, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because we were both probably making $10 an hour for a really long time, or whatever.
Hey, Disney money was not bad part-time money, because the timesheet you could put over the 29. So it was like you could go up to like every hour I worked, I actually put on there. Mark Frito Freeman, I think there's a statute of limitations now. There were times where I was putting like 55 or 60 on like the Disney.
I did that for a while, but I was really working those hours, so I'd write them down, right? And you'd get like time and a half.
You feel like you're cheating, but you're really just telling what you did.
Well, yeah, and then one day I got told, you work, like, what did they say? Maybe it was 29 or something. You work 29 hours a week. And I was like, no, I don't. And they're like, you work 29 hours a week. Because apparently they got in trouble for corporate or something. And I had to start lying down about my hours.
So how good is this Cowboys squad? I know there's always like the hack topic. Are they a contender type of thing? Like how good is this Cowboys team that the Texans are going to face? We don't even really need to get too much into the Texans, because quite frankly, losing is kind of winning right now. But the squad that you've covered for a long, long time, how good is this squad? And do you consider them a contender?
Yeah, I do. Easily can comfortably consider them a contender, just because to me, the top of the NFL is probably Kansas City and Buffalo, maybe Cincinnati, Philadelphia, Dallas, San Francisco's dead in the water now. I don't count Minnesota. So I think there's like 5 good teams, and the Cowboys exist in that bubble. It's just a matter of where. Like I would take the Eagles over the Cowboys on a neutral field tomorrow. But no, they're good. It's just weird how good they are, considering when you break it down to the individual pieces. I don't think they're as good. Like the Cowboys are, since Dak got back, the Cowboys are the best third down offense, the best red zone offense, the most offensive points per game, like whatever you want. They're number one. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, their offensive line is average. Their quarterback is very good. Tony Pollard's great. Zeke's fine. They have one good wide receiver. The tight ends are fine. And I don't know how it adds up to what it adds up to, but I'm a believer in point differential and turnover differential and how efficient are you on offense and all these different things. And the Cowboys are doing incredibly well at all of them.
It seemed like it was kind of like at the beginning, just watching from afar, it was, when Cooper Rush comes in, I think there were people that were shaping their lips to say, Cooper Rush is better than Dak. And now, I mean, it was happening. Don't act like I'm making that shit up. That was happening like crazy. And now we've gotten to where I think that's kind of been silenced a little bit, or if not completely.
Yeah, outside of idiots. And I say that with all due respect to the idiots. And I blame Landry for me calling people idiots, because Landry is the one he's a more passionate and aggressive person than I am. And him being here made me say that. But yeah, no, most people I think realize now, but still, if they just lose a game, people are like, Rush was 4-1, put him back in. But I do think that is 5% of Cowboys audience, and probably 90% of that, they have deeper rooted issues with why they would prefer Cooper Rush.
What's up with Pollard in the offseason? Because I don't want to like sit here and break down the Texans, because I mean it's a team that sucks. It's the worst team that you're going to face this year on the field. And after this year, when the $75 million dead cap goes away and you have all the draft picks, which we'll get into, that's when it really matters. And they're going to be looking for a head coach probably for the third time. But what about Tony Pollard? Do you think that Tony Pollard ends up back with the Cowboys? You think he's going to be on the market? If you were the Texans, would that be someone that you would look at? He's the best running back in the league when he starts. Like people like statistically, like when he starts, he's the best running back in the league. I'm not saying that's just a fact. Like that last year he had the one start. Yeah.
People talking about Tony Pollard. It's like somebody asked me, is he a top 5 running back in the league? And I was like, I understand that the answer yes seems weird, just because you've got names better and that you're more used to. But when it comes to running backs, I'm also a big believer in the things that we can measure. Like I can't, your offensive line for a running back is going to determine most of what you do. So the part that you can do is, can you break a tackle? Can you make somebody miss a tackle? What's your yards after contact? And all those different things, when you look into those numbers, the guys at the top of them every year are Nick Chubb and Tony Pollard. And Nick Chubb is a bona fide badass. And so for Tony Pollard, I think my answer is yes. He's one of the best running backs in football. And if your answer is no, you're the one guessing, not me. I'm not guessing. He has a now 4-year career of he gets 5 yards a carry. That's what he gets. And he is a really good receiver. That's who he is. So if you're just of the opinion that, well, if he got 5 more carries per game, suddenly he would suck, then like that's on you to try to argue or prove, because the side that says he's really, really good has all the evidence.
Do you think he gets out of Dallas? You think someone money whips him? Are we talking franchise tag? What are we talking here? Because the Texans, they like Dameon Pierce, but I think Dameon Pierce is Marion Barber. Like I've compared him to Marion Barber. I think they're the same way. There's like a 1-inch height difference. I think he had double-digit carries 7 times at Florida. He's getting a lot of carries right now, and you can see he's kind of wearing down. I think he's like a 1A, 1B type of guy. So we naturally start thinking about other running backs, especially when Rex Burkhead's your other guy. Do you think he gets out?
I hope he doesn't. And the Cowboys are weird because they love Zeke so much. What they should do is when the season ends, they post June 1 Zeke, they save $10 million against the salary cap. And then it's just a matter of, do you want to give a second contract to a running back? I could make the case for Pollard, and I think you may know this about me. I hate running backs.
Yeah. And I love them. I love them.
I love running backs. I hate second contracts for running backs because for the most part, I can replace you for a league minimum. Right. And then I look at Tony Pollard and I'm like, right, but you just made the case that he's unique and that even analytically measuring him, he is better than all of these running backs. He's makes the most explosive plays in football from running back on a per snap basis. He doesn't have a ton of miles on him. Could I make an exception? And it's like, yeah, if it's a $230 million salary cap or 225 or whatever it is next year, and you told me 9 or 10 of that per year was going to go to that guy, I'm in. I would clear Zeke off the books. I would turn around and I would give his money to Tony Pollard and I would cruise right along. The only thing I don't want them to do is keep both on the roster because that would be so dumb. And there's a world where they cut Zeke They don't want to pay another running back. Pollard's gone, and your starting running back is Malik Davis and whoever they draft. Like, I really don't know which way they'll go. The only thing I hesitate to say is that they would make what I consider the no doubt move, which is moving on from Zeke because you finally can. And I hesitate to say that I think they will because of Jerry. Like, Jerry loves that dude. He's one of the faces of the team. And Jerry, even when Pollard is the first guy in the game this week, was like, well, that he had a cell phone in the meeting room, and it was a little discipline there, and I would have been more lenient. Like, I don't care. The better running back was on the field, Jerry. I don't care. But yeah, he loves him some Zeke.
The Texans are in a different spot though, because they're going to be a younger team. I think they have 12 picks as of right now. I think they're going to have 12 picks the year after that. Quarterback's most likely going to be on a rookie deal, depending on what they do there. So if you are going to overpay a running back, and I feel the same way you do about second contracts with the running backs, then they would maybe be one of those teams that would maybe be willing to do that if they like Tony Pollard. I don't even know if they like Tony Pollard. I don't even know what Nick Caserio thinks about running backs at this point. I can't even really keep up. We really haven't learned much about him. So that's the one thing. But I'm all about drafting running backs. Like, if you get 3 prime years from someone who's already in his prime as soon as he steps on the field and can make the biggest impact, I'm all about just drafting the running back. And most of the best backs in the league, they were taken in like that second round range. That, by the way, you know what draft pick Nick Chubb was selected with? It was the one they traded to Cleveland for to get rid of Brock Osweiler, the salary dump. And then Denzel Ward, Cleveland picked with the Deshaun Watson pick. So they traded the second and Brock Osweiler to Cleveland. They took Nick Chubb. And then the Deshaun Watson trade was Denzel Ward. So the Texans have been pretty good to the Browns. Just something you might not have known on that. Do you like running backs in the draft? Like, how early do you like running backs in the draft?
I think you could talk me into it if I'm convinced they're special with like a late first round pick. If he's incredible, like if somebody took Bijan Robinson at 30, I'd be like, okay, I kind of get it. But even there, I look back at it and like everybody who's tried to do that because they think, oh, our team is so good. The Chiefs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
But what if they'd taken Taylor instead?
Right. But it's like, yeah, our team is so good that we're going to use this luxury pick here. Pick a more important position. But then you watch them play football, and like this year's draft, Bijan Robinson and is it Jahmyr Gibbs at Alabama? Yes, yeah. I want those dudes on my football team so bad. And then they're gonna, like, if they go to a team that can't block, they're gonna go get 3.7 a carry, and we're gonna be like, oh, they suck. And it's like, well, no, they don't suck. They just happen to play running back. And yes, we probably should have picked a left guard. So generally speaking, I guess I don't want them in the first round. But if my running backs do suck, and I think one of them's great, and I can block, then maybe I think I'm more of a pick one in the third round, pick one in the sixth round, and go, and just don't worry about it.
Yeah, and I'd love to see like the Bijan Robinsons, the Gibbs. There's a lot of there's a lot of intriguing running backs in this draft. The receivers are kind of weird too, because I think the Texans are going to be in the receiver market, and I don't think you've started like crunching the tape as much as you usually do. But the receivers are kind of weird because it seems like they might not warrant like a top 10 selection, just depending on what you think of Smith and Jigba or whatever. But like in that second round, that late first, it seems like it's just going to be it's just going to be a completely different than what it was last year, where they were like those top end guys that people liked a little bit more.
That makes me sad because I love receivers. I just always want to pick receivers. But yeah, I'll get there in probably start. Usually it's when I know the Cowboys aren't going to win shit is usually when I start doing draft stuff. And so this year
we might have a while. Might have a little more time.
Yeah.
Y'all almost traded for Brandon Cooks. What did you hear about the Cooks thing? Because I heard that a second rounder, the Texans could have gotten a second rounder for Cooks, but they kind of overextended on the salary cap. Did you hear anything about that?
I don't have any deets other than basically what they told us, which it sounded like the Cowboys know. I mean, just based on the fact that they're still chasing after Odell Beckham right now, who it sounds like couldn't even play football until maybe the playoffs, but maybe next year. Like they know that after they downgraded at receiver on purpose and failed to replace Amari Cooper, that they needed something, and that Cooks was one that they would 100% chase after. But I think it's just the way the Cowboys do it. It's like, oh, sure, we'll take that guy, but what do you think you're going to get for him? And they're like, oh, give us a 2. No, we'll give you a 7. Oh, but no. And then when the Cowboys are going to trade a guy, and they're like, what do you give us? And they're like, a 5. And they're like, oh, that's fine. I think the Cowboys get so hung up on trying to win deals that they forget to just make deals that help their team.
What's we had like a hypothetical today, and I know this is like the ultimate sin when you talk about Cowboys. Like what are the chances that Will McClay just he's a Cowboys lifer? Like would the Texans, they linked him in 2018, he never talked, and then Nick Caserio's kind of got a little bit of hot seat. I said if I were Cal McNair and I were going to move on from GM, I would just offer Will McClay a blank check. They're not letting him leave Dallas, right?
They'll try not to. I think it's just a matter of, does he reach a point where it's a pride thing, where he wants to say that something is his? Like, Will McClay's a badass. He's the one who builds this. He's the reason they have a really good roster. And I thought he might leave last off season, but I also know that like he is cool with the setup here, where he knows what he's got. He's comfortable working with the Joneses. He likes everything that he is allowed to do, and he doesn't mind not being the dude that's out front, answering all the questions and getting all the credit. And I do wonder, because life circumstances change this sometimes, is when you have family and children, when you reach a point where a kid is going to be out of high school and going off to college, like that can change things for people. And I don't remember off the top of my head what his situation is there, but I do know that he's got he does have a kid that I bet is creeping up on time to leave and go somewhere. So he might reach a life circumstance, or he could just reach a point where it's like, you know what? It's time for Will McClay to be the name that people talk about. It's time for them to talk about the team I built and not have Jerry out here talking about what he did. But at least for now, and I do believe he got a raise this offseason, he likes it here.
Yeah.
It's crazy because we think of all these guys as having these giant egos where it's like, no, it is mine. And Will McClay's like, yeah, I'm cool with never doing an interview, building your team, and you can say you did it.
Yeah, and the owner, I mean, say what you want, he's willing to go up there and like take the bullets for you, so you don't have to deal with as much shit there. He is a Houston guy, so that's always like a name that comes up. Texans also going to be looking at head coaches. Do you think that Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn, you think this is the end of them? You think their names are going to be pretty hot commodities? And what do you think about them as potential head coaches?
Quinn strikes me as a guy who would be a head coach, and I think that's part of the game you play, is you try to picture them talking to people in front of a camera and leading humans. And I think with Dan Quinn, it's really easy because the players love him, and he's got a really good, strong presence when he's doing interviews and all that. And Kellen, you don't really get that from. But man, people love offensive coaches. So going into last offseason, when it was official prediction time, I said the Cowboys coordinators will both be back. Because everybody does that. If you have a good coordinator and one side of the ball plays well, he's gone. Somebody's going to hire him. And there's just too many names like that it doesn't happen. I would bet Kellen Moore will still be with the Cowboys. And I'll call Dan Quinn a coin flip, because I think Dan Quinn is also right up the alley of NFL owner.
Yeah.
Like if you go and interview Dan Quinn, he would leave and they'd be like, that son of a bitch is a tough football man. And they like that stuff.
Which one would you be most like concerned if you had to keep just one for the best interest of the Cowboys? Which one do you think would be more important? Which one would they suffer more from losing? Seem like the players like Dan Quinn for some reason. I don't know, like the way Micah Parsons talks about him and stuff. Like it seems like kind of a special thing.
Yeah, and it's everybody. Everybody talks about him that way. So I guess it would be Dan Quinn. It's hard though, because defense is less predictable year to year, But a lot of the guys Dan Quinn has brought in have been playing well. Players love him. I think Kellen Moore, it's weird because I live here and hear everything about the Cowboys. Like people just love to crap on stuff.
Yeah.
Kellen Moore gets treated like he's not good at his job.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cowboys since 2019 score the most points in the league. The Cowboys since Dak got back are the number one offense in the league. Dak is not the best quarterback in football. They don't have the best offensive line in the league. They don't have the best receivers in the league. And they're consistently a top 3 to 5 offense. And people pretend that Kellen Moore sucks. I would choose Quinn, but I just want to make sure that the world knows Kellen Moore doesn't suck at his job.
Yeah. And the Texans, like the way the offense is called, the way the defense is called, it's pretty rough, man. You're lucky you don't have to watch this week in, week out. It's pretty bad, man. It's pretty bad, but it's going to get exciting during the draft. You will be jealous during the draft. That's
oh God, yes, dude.
You're gonna be jealous as fuck during the draft, which I think you might actually trade. Your sick ass might actually trade 1-15-1 for 2 first-round picks, including 1-1, and also because Miami forfeited their pick, that first pick of the second round is pick 32 now.
So you got 3 in the first 32?
3 in the first 32.
I'll trade you records right now. Let's go. But well,
it's tough. It's tough, but
I'll trade you for those months.
Yes, I know you love that. Have you looked at these quarterbacks at all? Because that's the big debate that we have right now. Bryce Young. I'm in on Bryce Young. I don't watch the tape as much as you. I'm just in on it. Just because. Why the fuck not? At this point,
that's a good take, Landry.
Seriously. Well, I'm not big on CJ Stroud. I'm not as big on CJ Stroud as some. I know the height's going to come up with Bryce. I'm not a Will Levis guy. I don't think Richardson warrants, the first pick. So I'm a Bryce Young guy. We need some excitement too, and he's already a star. He running the pro system. Have you looked at these quarterbacks at all? What's your early takeaway before you really get into it as deep as you do?
I've seen them all play. So I haven't done tape study on this year's quarterbacks, but I've obviously, because I watch Bama receivers every year and Ohio State receivers every year. So I've seen both of them play.
How does Ohio State do it? Good God.
Yeah. And for me, it could change when I actually do all of the work, but I comfortably think Bryce Young is going to be the best one. I just think, first, I don't care how tall or heavy you are, because there's literally never been evidence in the history of the NFL that lighter people get hurt more than heavy people. And at the quarterback position, if you really wanted to crunch the information on it, the heavier guys get hurt more. So I don't care how big you are. And I just think, like, Bryce Young, when you blitz him, you're dead. Pocket movement, easy. Arm, great. Accuracy, wonderful. Like, I think Bryce Young is a really, really, really good prospect. CJ Stroud's the one that I have the least opinion on, because I know he's got the tools and I've seen him play live some, but I just never came out of it with a strong opinion about anything. And then Will Levis is the one that I think there's a decent chance he's Carson Wentz, where I go, oh yeah, he's certainly athletic enough to move as an NFL quarterback. He's definitely got the arm to do this. What the hell did he just do in a bad way? And it's like, it happens 2 or 3 times a week. And I'm like, all right, so that's the guy that NFL coaches are going to look at and be like, yeah, I don't care that he's a horrible decision maker. He has tools and I can do the rest. And they hope they can. But yeah, I would go Bryce Young.
Yeah, we need some sort of star. I think the coach is going to be connected to. Don't even know what the hell is going to happen with that. It's 3 coaching searches in 3 years, man. Three coaching searches. They got the pick though. It's been fun. It's going to be fun. I know you've been in on that tape for a long time, and I've always kind of admired the way that started. Yeah, that was like your nights for who knows how long. You were crunching tape for like hundreds of days a week, just going in there and getting down with it. So I've never pretended to be a tape guy, but I do watch a lot of college football, and the height stuff's going to really drive me nuts, because there's really, it always comes down to, and I know you hate arguments like this more than anyone. You've always hated shit like, well, no quarterbacks come out of USC, or no quarterbacks come out of Alabama, and Ohio State quarterbacks, and name a quarterback this height. Like that's really all I'm getting from Bryce Young is, yeah, look at his height. Look at his height. Look at this picture of him next to CJ Stroud. That's all I've gotten. But when you actually watch him, I've never felt like I was watching someone tiny or short.
I think we should only draft quarterbacks out of Texas Tech, because that's where Mahomes came from.
Well, except for all the years about him before he did his thing.
Right. And before that, it was, you better not take somebody out of Texas Tech. Don't do the helmet thing. Don't do, like, sure, if a guy is 4'6" and 91 pounds, that's going to be a real weird football player. But if a dude is, I don't care, 5'10", 5'11", 6'1", 6'4", I don't care. Unless you can show me the way in which that deficit hurts him, I don't care. I remember having to do this with Devontae Smith, where it was like, Devontae Smith is skinny, the receiver in Philly. And people were legitimately like, oh, he doesn't weigh enough. And I'm like, okay, so like in what way does that bother you? And it's like, well, he doesn't weigh enough. He's going to get beat up at the line of scrimmage. And I'm like, no, I watched him in the SEC and he destroys people off the line of scrimmage. What else? It's like, well, he's not going to be able to contest a catch. Oh, he's great at it. But what else? And it's like, you just put it in your brain that, oh, he's skinny as a negative and, oh, he's short as a negative. And you go, okay, but how does that hurt him on the football field? It's,
There's
and don't bring it up.
It's just the height. That's what we're gonna have to deal with. It'll be fun. Real quick before I get you out of here, would you bet if you had a gun to your head, an imaginary gun to your head, would you bet Cowboys minus 17 or would you take the 17?
I'd take the 17. That's just a big ass number in the NFL. That is such a big ass number in the NFL. Well, but even if you're up 23 with 3 minutes left, there's a gimme touchdown coming. So you have to win by 25.
They've been known to have those like gimme touchdowns. Lovie Smith still insists that they're close, and it's like, yeah, you were down 15 late, and then you scored a touchdown with 3 minutes left, and that's what they hear. So yeah, I think I'm going to take the 17, but you got to have some sort of like rooting interest at this point. And I've been rooting for the loss for a long time, openly. Like I wanted them to beat Cleveland, but I've been rooting for losses. I want that 1-1. The other thing, and I know this gets you just as excited as a quarterback trade down. Someone might fall in love with the quarterback, and you can get 6 first-round picks in the first round. The team trade down right.
Do you know that my favorite player, if he could be part of your trade down, just get Jalen Carter, the Georgia defensive tackle?
You'd have to trade down. Yeah.
My God.
I feel like he might get consideration. The most depressing thing for you guys is that Philadelphia has the number 5 pick right now, and I don't see the Saints winning too many more games.
Hey, shut up. How about that? They should have won last night and should be right in the mix for the division if Mark Ingram would just not step out of bounds for no reason.
What if they add Carter with Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis? Did you like Jordan Davis, by the way?
What?
Did you like Jordan Davis in the draft last year, or did you think he was too much of a 2-down guy?
Those are two different, because the answer is yes and yes. Like, I really liked him, but yes, 2-down guy. So I was like, sure, I guess if you wanted to pick him.
When would you take a 2-down guy? When would be the earliest? Because that was the Texans ended up trading back with Philadelphia. They went and got Kenyon Green, who, by the way, has had probably the worst rookie season I know you're probably not paying too much attention. It's the worst rookie season that you will ever see with Kenyon Green.
2-down guy. So here's why 2-down guy, I think, has a little bit more value than I would have said 2 or 3 years ago, because teams now are wanting to play football differently on defense. Teams want to play the pass. And if I can play the run with 4 guys, then I can drop 7 in coverage. And that's what teams want to do now. So I would give them more value. Like, the guy out of all of those big guys that I probably love the most in doing this draft stuff was Vita Vea. And I would have taken Vita Vea probably in the top 20. Jordan Davis, maybe in the first round. Jalen Carter, no doubt in the first round, because I think Jalen Carter is not a 2-down guy. Jalen Carter is just going to eat people in the NFL. When you were watching last year Georgia's defense, I didn't know. Like, I went in to watch Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt, both of their defensive tackles, and Trayvon Walker, all of them. And you're watching all of them, and I'm like, dude, the best player on that team is that dude. Who the hell is he? And we looked him up, and I was like, he's not even draft eligible. I was like, I'd use my first round pick last year just to call dibs on him. Like, we want him next year. We're going to use our pick for that. He's a stud.
Where were you on Sauce and Stingley?
Sauce number 1, Stingley number 2.
So you were Sauce. Yeah. That's a big conversation. Although I think if Stingley had gone to New York, he would be looking maybe not as good as Sauce is, because Sauce is grading out as like one of the best rookies that we've seen in a long time.
Well, Sauce is also, I mean, it's one of those things where you also have to be confident in exactly what you're seeing, where with Sauce, the really tall corner can scare people because it's hard to have good enough feet and be quick enough and all that, but he can. And Stingley, it's like, man, his tape 3 years ago was incredible. But if a guy could be that good at 18, how could he be later? Like, I don't think that debate's over.
No, it's not. It's not.
Off to a great start. But
that shit is. I mean, RG3, Andrew Luck, like it was RG. The Colts make a mistake type of thing. It's the 1 year overreaction can be, it can be really out of control with the rookies, big time. But that was one of our big debates. Most depressing thing though is 2020 second round, where Diggs goes to the Cowboys. You had all these guys, and the Texans had Ross Blacklock. He's gone already.
Oh, TCU stand up, baby. Max Duggan, Heisman. Let's go.
That was from the Hopkins trade. See, it gets depressing when you talk football too long with people who cover the Texans. So I'll let you get out of here, Jeff. For real, man. Appreciate you as always, man. It's been fun watching you, coming up with you. You were always like the ultimate like rah station guy, and then you kind of started believing in yourself more, and you're doing your thing right now, and it's a pleasure, man. I'm happy seeing how you've progressed professionally and as a man as well, and it's a pleasure talking to you, man. Not to get too mushy and weird, but yeah, you know.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I don't understand. You don't think I believed in myself before then? Because you're right.
No, I'm just
absolutely didn't. No.
You commit. You were like the guy going to the hockey game, holding the station flag and stuff, and like all in. And then you sometimes you get sucked into just believing in radio, and then not believing enough in yourself, and you did your thing.
How drunk can we be to try to get people to like me? Wee! And then eventually we grow out of it. Yeah, I think we were similar in that way, and that both of us were scrapping and clawing and trying to do whatever it took to have people want you to be part of their show or part of their whatever. And then eventually it's like, oh, wait, I should probably just like be a real ass human and figure out who I am and what I can do and all that. So I'm glad you're kicking ass too. And if you really will send me the video of this,
I will.
And then you say where to find you on YouTube and radio and all that. And then my people on YouTube will see that too. And there'll be some cross promotion shit happening.
Okay, here we go. Landry Locker, the Locker Room on YouTube, at Landry Locker on Twitter, at Landry Locker on Instagram, Sports Radio 610 on the Odyssey app, 10 to 2.
Suck it. Oh, wait, you're not allowed to say Odyssey on my channel.
Oh, you're not?
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. I mean, hey, you can make the rule. I could see that. All right, man.
Bleep it out.
All right. Appreciate you, Jeff.
All right. Love you.
All right. Love you, man. Later.